Welcome to Bedroom Confessions. In today's Bedroom Confessions, I want to talk about why your attachment to food does not have to be anxious. Let me tell you a quick story about my past relationship with food and how I used to view food. So, in my own experience, I used to center food in the middle of my life. Like, I centralized food so much that all I could think about was food. Whenever we would go travel with my family, I would think about when our next meal is. I would always ask if we could try a food stall or another restaurant. I was always looking at opportunities to have food. I just lived my life thinking about food. And now being on the other side of it, let me tell you how blinded I was by my obsession with food. I didn't think that food was such a big issue until I recovered from that obsessive thinking around food. Because everything I was doing was somehow tied to food. I was working out so I could eat more. I was traveling so I could eat different food. I would go to social events so I can eat and I have a reason to eat. Me and my twin sister, we would sneak food and hide it in our bedroom and snack we would hide and be secretive around food. So all of those habits and all that obsessive thinking around food fueled a very toxic relationship with it. And that led to a lot of disordered eating. I always wanted to lose weight, and I don't know, there was just this obsession around losing weight and then food. It was kind of like all the extremes. Is like wanting to lose weight, but then like eating so much food. And it was like this, I don't know, this like yo-yo of like, I want to lose weight, but then I want the instant gratification of food. So it was very toxic. Let me just tell you that. Like, my mindset around food was like, I felt shameful for eating. I felt like I always needed to finish my plate or finish like a packet of cookies, for example. I would always overeat no matter what meal I had. I would always push past my hunger cues. I would not hesitate to ask for round two of the food or have dessert even though I was so full, or I would feel sick. I would just eat until I felt sick and I didn't really care. I would wait 10 minutes and then eat again. It was like that obsessive thinking that if I didn't eat the food now, I wouldn't have it later. And it was that like primal need to just like stuff myself for survival more than respect for my body and for my health. So it was very, very, very toxic. So let me head into those lessons that I've learned that helped me really change my mindset around food and reestablish a healthy pattern with food and my nutrition and dieting and all that. Dieting will be a whole other video, so we're not going to dive into dieting just right now. But okay, this is too much rambling for this intro of the video, so let me just dive into the lessons that I've learned. One of the things I had to learn to reestablish a good relationship with food was to remove rules and limitations. So when you put rules like, oh, I can't eat carbs, or I can't have sugar, or I can't have fried food, for example, I don't know about you, but there's always this need that if you restrict yourself on something, you just want it more. So that's why I think that when you're trying to reestablish a healthy relationship with food, you shouldn't set strict rules and limitations, because that just will make you want it more, and that will not help in the long run, and it will not be sustainable. Because if you set yourself like, oh, I can't have sugar, then it's like anywhere you'll just see sugar, and will have to use so much willpower to stop yourself from having sugar that it will just make it so much harder. Another thing that kind of goes hand in hand with that rules and limitation is to not label food as good or bad. Because if you label food as good or bad and you eat some of the bad food, you'll feel guilty and you'll shame yourself and you criticize yourself. And then you'll feel all these negative emotions toward yourself that are not helpful for dealing with a tricky mindset around food. Because if you feel negative about yourself because you ate some of the bad food, then you'll feel like, oh, if I caved in right now, might as well just go all in and then I'll start over tomorrow. That's not what we want. You can have some of the less healthy food in moderation and then not shame yourself into a binging episodes, for example. So this is what a healthy relationship with food looks like, is you having 80% of your time is healthy food, nutritious food that's really filling you with like whole foods, fruits and vegetables, carbs, protein. And then 20% of the time you have a sweet treat once in a while. You have a drink once in a while, but you don't feel guilty. And that's the most important part of it all. Is like you need to feel like you're doing the right thing for your body and that you're not shaming yourself, because the more you shame yourself, the more negative you'll feel. And a lot of the times, I don't know about you, but for me, a lot of my eating disorder was based around my emotions. If I felt bad, I wanted to find comfort in food, and therefore if I eat bad food and then I feel negative and then I shame myself for it, then all I want is more bad food because I want to find comfort, immediate comfort in food, because I already feel bad about myself. So the solution is not to label something as bad or good and to have the less healthy options a little like in moderation rather than make it your top priority in your diet, so that you can restore that balance of and remove that shameful cycle. The goal is just to remove the shame. So if you don't label your food as good or bad, and then you just prioritize the healthy, nutritious food, the ones that are properly fueling you, and you're not leaving out anything like carbs, like don't skip on carbs. Carbs are important, but you have a little bit of everything and you're creating this balance, then you will be able to restore a healthier mindset around food and not shame yourself into having more of the bad food and entering binge eating episodes. One big thing that helped me to go from thinking about food so much, like obsessively thinking about food, like all my thoughts were about food, to decentralizing food from my life, was to meal plan. I know a lot of people say you should start meal planning and meal prepping, but especially if you have disordered eating or you have tendencies of binge eating, meal prepping is a game changer. It's not because it saves time. Yes, it saves time. It saves money, but also it removes decisions around food, especially throughout the week when you already have your meals planned out, cooked for pre-prepped, or you have that solid plan. You don't have to think about food, and it's removing food from your thought process throughout the week, so you don't have to worry about it because it's already prepped. And that means that in moments where you might feel hungry, you don't even have to think about what you have to eat because it's already prepped. And so you don't have to go to the store and wander around the aisles and potentially grabbing something unhealthy or caving into one of your cravings. So that's one big step that I think everyone should do, especially when they want to gain more control over their food, is to remove as many decisions around food as possible so that you can use that willpower and that mental space and mental discipline for something else, like going to the gym or sticking to another habit and stuff like that. The more you remove thinking about food, the less obsessive it becomes, and the more prepared you will feel, and the less you will cave into those cravings. So if you want to reduce this obsessive thinking around food and feel more prepared, start meal prepping. It literally changed my life. And it doesn't have to be boring. Meal prepping does not have to be boring. What you want to do is to find recipes that you absolutely adore, that are healthy and nutritious, and that you truly love. And that will make meal prepping fun, because you'll feel excited to reach for your next meal, because you know it's something that's going to be good and fulfilling and healthy for you. So, first, meal prep. Second, remove food decisions and cravings. And then third, find recipes that you love so that you want to reach for your next meal. Best way to summarize. Okay, let's move on to the next. So I mentioned earlier that at least in my experience, food was tied with my emotional needs. That means that when I feel negative, if I feel sad, if I feel frustrated, if I feel angry, anything, I would turn to food for comfort, because food would give me that quick dopamine hit, comfort me for a few seconds, and then the crash would crash me, and then the cycle would repeat over and over again. And so, let me tell you a quick story with one of the worst era of my life when it comes to disordered eating. I think it was last summer. Last summer, I was in this very weird space in my life where I just graduated university and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and I couldn't find a job that I liked, and I was working for a company it was interesting, but it was not ultimately fulfilling me in a way that I wanted to be fulfilled. And so a lot of my time was spent indoors watching TV and just feeling awful and sad and going through existential crisis after existential crisis. I was barely seeing anyone because most of my friends were working, and so I was just tied in my room, not doing much. And so I started to cope with food. And my guilty pleasure was Krispy Kreme donuts. When I tell you, Krispy Kreme glazed donuts were my drug of choice. I would order on it. I would order it on Uber Eats. Get 12 dozen, 1 dozen donuts delivered to my door. I would go up to my room and I would eat those donuts. And then I would eat like 4. I would feel sick. Then I would wait a little bit, and I would keep eating until the box was finished. And that, my friend, was a cycle that I repeated. I wouldn't say every day, but it was pretty often, and the episodes kept coming closer and closer together. That one time I had like 4 boxes in my room because I needed to go and throw them away. Can you imagine? I was eating 12 dozen. No, I was eating 1 dozen donuts a day by myself, because I was coping from all the sadness and all the existential crisis with donuts. And it was tough to get out of it. I didn't want to get out of it. And then once the Krispy Kreme donuts weren't hitting as much as before, I would switch to another donut shop. And then I would do pizza. Everything would compound on top of each other, and I was just in this vicious cycle of binge eating and not moving my body, and I was sad all the time. I was so sad that I wanted my room to stay dark all day, so I ordered like blackout curtains so that I couldn't see and light couldn't come in, because I just wanted to hide from the world, and I didn't want to face reality. And I think at that point I didn't go out for like 3 days, and that destroyed me mentally, and it didn't help my relationship with food. So deal with your emotional needs. I think that if you feel like that emotions trigger your food episodes and binging episodes, start dealing with the root cause. Yes, working on food and your relationship with food will help, definitely, but it will use some of the willpower that you need in your daily routine. So if you start tackling the root of your problem, like what's triggering your disordered eating, then later on you wouldn't have to use as much willpower to not cave into your cravings or eat like overeat or stuff like that, right? Because if you deal with the emotions and how you process your emotion and how you regulate your emotions, then you remove the root cause and the trigger that's triggering all of those binging episodes. And so for me, I went through therapy. I had to deal with my emotions and what I was feeling and why I was using food to cope, and it helped so much. Like now I'm not turning to food to cope anymore. And literally I had a binging episode, or the desire of binging, a few weeks ago. And so I ordered like fried chicken, like a bunch of fried chicken. I was so excited for it. Like I couldn't, like in the morning I thought about like how fried chicken would just hit the spot today. And then I couldn't, like, my mind could not focus on anything else until I ordered that fried chicken. And the fried chicken arrived. I ate like one or two and I was disgusted because I was like, this is not the person I am anymore. And I don't want to be that person anymore. And that's because I did the work and I did the emotional processing to get to the point where I did not want to be that person that binge ate anymore. And so I'm telling you, if you can, and you can afford therapy, go through therapy and deal with your emotional baggage so that you can remove the trigger from emotional eating. And if you can't afford therapy, start writing it out. Start journaling and understanding why you're eating so that you can pinpoint the trigger and start working on that trigger to remove it from your life in the first place so that you're not triggering that emotional eating. So that's pretty much it for today. I could talk about disordered eating like for way longer and ramble for a very long time, but I don't want to make this video too long. So if you are in a state where you want to improve your relationship with food, let me tell you it's possible and you can do it. It will just take a little bit of time. And when I say a little bit of time, is it might be 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, but it's better to deal with it now than going through years of having to struggle with binging or like a disordered eating. Because you can, like, if you think that you right now you're enjoying your food so much, but you have that negative side of enjoying your food, which is like feeling sick, feeling shameful, all those negative emotions, let me tell you, you can start enjoying food in smaller amounts and it would hit even better than those eating episodes. Like, trust me on this. Because I think at some point, I didn't want to fix my relationship with food because I didn't want to lose the high of those binging episodes. And I thought that I couldn't enjoy food as much if I changed that relationship with food. But through eating healthier and developing recipes I actually love, I realized that eating healthy doesn't mean eating boring. It means that I can actually feel free to eat what I want, when I want, with moderation and not feeling all those negative emotions afterwards. Like, I didn't have the crash anymore. And without the crash, then I can enjoy food more. I can enjoy being social with people. I don't have to feel shameful. I feel more confident. There's so many like positive things that came out of fixing my relationship with food. So please, if I'm like, I just want this for you, that if you feel like right now you don't have control over your food, just start thinking about ways that you can slowly change your relationship with it, make it healthier progressively, so that in a few months you feel that freedom too, because I want you to feel it as well. So I'm going to leave it at that. You're capable of change. It's just mental. It's all mental. Your body will follow. But the mind, you need to convince the mind first. If you start putting yourself and prioritize yourself and thinking in terms of health, you're already halfway there. So this was this week's episodes of Bedroom Confessions. I'm ready for bed, so I'm gonna leave you here, and I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully you got a few takeaways that could help you with your relationship with food. And yeah, that's it for tonight. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.